Good morning. Good morning. Here we are recording for another episode of the Wednesday Weekly Chat, which we host on LinkedIn. So I am Lark Ambrose, a mental fitness trainer, a mindset coach, and an accountability partner. I work with people who are making major transitions, do so with less stress. LJ?
My name is LJ Vio, and I am a coach who focuses in on helping people understand themselves better through self-awareness, and through that understanding, helping them interact with people more effectively. Also, big passion of mine is helping managers become the leaders that their teams need them to be.
Awesome stuff. So LJ and I use different modalities in our coaching practices, and I speak through the lens of mental fitness, and LJ speaks through the lens of Luminous Spark for the purposes of these weekly events. So this week, we are focusing on a new personality trait and the corresponding, or the one that we are linking with the saboteur from mental fitness. This week, the title is, our subject is, the caption that encapsulates everything we're going to talk about today is, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. And that title corresponds to the stickler saboteur way of thinking. So the stickler saboteur is when perfectionism and a need for order and organization are taken too far. There are strengths, though. There are underlying strengths that people who may be hijacked by the stickler saboteur. And a saboteur, what is a saboteur? It's the overuse and abusing of these beautiful underlying strengths that we have. So some of these strengths could be that people with a stickler saboteur, they have high ideals and standards. They're often seen as being principled. They can bring organization and order into ambiguity and chaos. They want to be a good person. They want to do the right thing. They can be quite self-disciplined, and they like to see and communicate things as they are. So LJ, how does this align with Lumina's personality qualities?
The quality that aligns, I think, beautifully with stickler is evidence-based, and the overextension of lost in details. The strength of somebody with who has a strong preference for evidence-based is that it allows the person to ground their ideas in facts and personal experience and past knowledge. They're very detailed focused, using an empirical approach to guide them in making decisions. And they're really good at repetitive tasks, perform them at a consistently high standard. You may notice the person by how meticulous they are and how important it is for them to establish all the facts. They value accuracy and precision, and they prefer to rely on their own experience and knowledge that they've accumulated over time. Again, they pay attention to detail, creating a more accurate result, and they voice their opinion based on known facts they've acquired and are skilled at presenting informed opinions. So lots of good stuff in there. Lark, what are some of the not so helpful characteristics of the stickler saboteur?
Oh my, okay. So when you were talking just now, you literally gave me a lens through which I am seeing Lark leaving corporate and going to Peace Corps, going to a small African country, working with my counterparts straight off of Wall Street, where we know exactly how things need to run. We are about efficiency. We get stuff done within a timeline. People are on time for meetings. And so I go there with my stickler saboteur in overdrive and want to impose that on my local counterparts who are not socialized or culturally in alignment with that way of thinking, not to the extent that I was coming into that environment. So there I was in a hijacked state, often being really irritated, being really tense, being really opinionated, and with a tending to sarcasm at times. Someone with a stickler saboteur could be really critical of self and others and have a strong need for self-control and self-restraint. So even in identifying all the things that are wrong, like why don't they just do it this way? Like we know better. No tolerance for sloppiness and laziness, and those kinds of judge can come in there. So yeah, that's some of how I see how I saw what you were talking about. That's how I saw some of those not so helpful characteristics showing up in self and quite frankly in others. Let's just get real. Like it's not an uncommon saboteur, right? It's one that we all have encountered at some point in time. And as always, we put these things out here, we hold the mirror up so we know we can identify them, and with knowledge we can start working on them so that we're not stuck there. So I am really curious, through the lens of Luminous Spark, what does it look like when evidence-based is under stress or pressure?
So when evidence-based overextends, it becomes lost in details, as I mentioned. And you can see this overextension when you or someone you know closes down more creative ways of identifying opportunities. They can waste so much time, so I'm being judgmental there, they can waste so much time gathering details that they can delay decision-making. They need more information, more information. Sometimes the need for evidence limits imagination. And the focus on facts can limit creative thinking. And getting lost in the details often means missing out on the big picture. Their desire for precision and accuracy can become obsessive, and they may only trust what they have experienced themselves. And so they discount anybody else's thoughts or experiences. If it's going to be done right, then they will have to do it. And I've had some wonderful experiences that I've learned from, because I'm complete opposite of stickler, and I've probably driven many people absolutely nuts. But I've also been had the impact of somebody discounting ideas and being just rigid, and causing some grief. So yeah, it's there. All the overextensions and saboteurs don't serve us well and
They
impact
don't.
others about that. So
100%. Yeah.
how
Yeah.
does that stick saboteur impact the person who is sticklerish and others, Lark?
Yeah, so we're about halfway through. It's about 7 minutes in. So yeah, we have some thoughts I just want to throw out there with people that the stickler might be thinking. Right is wrong and wrong is wrong. I know the way. And I'm thinking again, and I'll share this little story here. As a Peace Corps volunteer going in from corporate, I knew that I knew how things should be, right? I knew I'm seeing things and I'm thinking their standards are just way too lax. I know I needed to be more organized and methodical, and so they needed to, because I hate mistakes. Like these are some of the thoughts that were just running rampant. And the impact on those whom I had to work with, clearly they were now frustrated. They're feeling that they could never do anything right, because when someone is truly hijacked with the stickler saboteur, 99% is just not enough, because it's not 100%. That's exhausting. That's just frustrating. It's demotivating for those whom are on your team, because they can never quite measure up. They can never quite make you happy, right? And so that's kind of how I would say the impact, you run the risk of having that impact on those on your team whom you have to work with. What about someone who is overextended? How does that look when they overextend into lost in details?
Yeah, so under just to clarify, overextension for people who haven't been along the journey with us, an overextension is when the person is under pressure or stress, tired, ill, etc. And when the good parts of the qualities become something that doesn't serve well. And the overextension of lost in details can be challenging for colleagues who are prefer quick gut-based decisions, who like to take risks and explore opportunities and change things up. The stickler may suck the energy, some of the energy out of a brainstorming discussion, or that enthusiasm to move forward, because they need more facts, they need more details.
Yeah.
The perfectionist tendencies can lead to micromanaging and lack of delegation. If it's going to be done right, I'm going to do it myself. And
Right.
I've heard people say that, and you're like, ooh, as a direct report of that person, that is very disempowering. And often when I used to do interviews, and I'd always ask, what's I used to word it this way: what's something I could do as your manager that would really annoy you? And every single time people came back with micromanaging, right?
Right.
People don't like to be under the microscope and just feeling like they can never do right. That there's always going to be something that the micromanager is going to find. So I think that's the impact on others. The impact on the person who's being overextended. It's exhausting. And it's very negative to always be thinking that other people aren't doing their job properly, and you have to come in and save the day. So I think it's exhausting. It's isolating, and not great consequences for the people around or for the individual.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And as you were speaking, something you had said earlier, that I'm just going to loop into here, with that knowing how it should be done, and that stickler to the details, and let's stay within the confines of this expert knowledge that, I am bringing to you, you lose the benefit of context of the local area. And there are ways outside, there are different approaches that I may not have been exposed to, that I had not been trained to think different ways of thinking. I just have not been trained to explore. So by limiting my focus to just what was, what it should have been and what I knew, totally, left no room for that. And this is really present with me right now, because I'm in an environment now where I don't have to, where I have had the opportunity to interact with other Peace Corps volunteers, very new ones, and I can see them going through the same processes that I would have gone through when I was a new volunteer, fresh, into the game. And it also offers me the opportunity to now look and see how much I have worked on my stickler saboteur and how much better I am. But I will now insert, we do have a few seconds left to say, clearly I'm not at the finish line yet, because putting this together today, the stickler to the detail and everything being perfect, took over in parts. So just an offering to anyone listening that we get better. It's not a one and done. So I just thought, in full transparency, I will share that, because it's real, it's life, it's what it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It is
that's
what
why
it
we're
is.
here, helping people, helping ourselves.
100%. All right. So as we wind this down, I'm inviting everyone to join us on the live when we talk about this next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on LinkedIn. We do have our audio room then. We want people to share this video, listen to it, re-listen to it, see what resonates, and also take time to reflect on your thinking patterns. How are you showing up in stress? When you are under pressure, when your back's against the wall? Are you limiting yourself to just what the evidence has said and is saying? And what can you do, if anything, differently? So we look forward to hearing from you on Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And LJ, I know we love to wrap up with a quote, so we have a few more seconds. Please share a quote with us.
This one is from Brené Brown. Perfectionism is a 20-ton shield that we lug around thinking it will protect us, when in fact, it's the thing that's really preventing us from taking flight.
Love that quote. That's a perfect way to wrap this up. Hopefully we see you on our LinkedIn stage. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.